Leadership and Other Stuff, my podcast. I'm Brian Houston, for anyone who doesn't know, and I love speaking to leaders about leadership, and I've got a little bit of experience. This message is called The Anatomy of an Offense, or 15 Steps to a Disaster, from the initial offense all the way through to dislocation and finding yourself out on the edge rather than in the center of the very will of God. So here we go, 15 steps to an offense, or 15 steps to disaster. Number one, ouch, that hurt. So you let something go deeper than you should. You feel deeply that you've been aggrieved and it stings. So a little wound takes root, and great disasters come out of little wounds. So you sleep on it, and you wake up convinced that you're the victim of injustice. That's a starting point. The starting point is when you decide you've been hurt or you have been mistreated, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's somewhere between, whether you also have a part to play in the way you feel. It's just the start. Ouch, that hurts. So number two, and there's 15 of these points, they have no excuse for what they said or did. This is your attitude towards whoever the offense or your perceived offense comes from. They have no excuse. Their behavior was simply not justified. Again, maybe you're right, but is it worth taking into your spirit, deep down into your soul, to the point that it can get you completely off track? You fail to understand what might be going on in the other person's world. You don't think about that. You're just thinking about your perceived hurt. Man, it's so easy in life because things come our way. Things come our way often. Jesus said, of course, offenses will come, and every human being has opportunities to become offended, whether in a marriage, whether in a church, a team, whether in a business partnership or relationship. Wherever it is, we start by saying, ouch, that hurt. And then we decide they're wrong. They have no excuse for their behavior. And again, you might be right. But is it going to help you? Number three, you say to yourself, they won't listen or they won't understand. So you fail to talk to the right person. You fail to communicate before that seed of offense really takes root. Could you have just taken the time to say, hey, that's not okay. That's not okay. Had a communication which perhaps could have sorted it out and fixed it up right there. But you failed to do so. Which brings us to number four, I can't get over this. You've gone from ouch, that hurt, the initial defense, to right now confessing, I can't get over this. This is too big. So you brood on it rather than moving on. It's a dangerous path to go down. So you decide, I won't forget it, but I'll just soldier on in silence. So you're not addressing it, you're not dealing with it, you're just pushing it in, pushing it down, and you're not going to deal with it because you have the right to feeling the way you do. So you're like, I can't get over this, I won't forget it. I won't. And so the other person or people may be totally oblivious to the way you feel. They've just moved on and their life's going in a direction, but not for you. You've decided you're going to die on this cross. I can't get over this. And again, I'm saying, Maybe you're justified in the way you feel, but it's not going to help you. It's not going to take you to where God wants you to go. That's the key issue right there. And so the particular offense or issue is magnified. It becomes bigger than Ben-Hur. All of a sudden now, it's kind of dominating your thinking a little bit. It's kind of controlling you. You go to bed thinking about it. Maybe you wake up thinking about it. But you've decided that you earn the right to feel hurt the way you feel. And so with time, it gets even worse. The actual offense becomes even more magnified, becomes even bigger in your mind. So dangerous. And then in that position, you start finding it happens again, and it happens again, because of where you're at and where your thinking's at. You're interpreting all sorts of things now as piling offense upon offense. And the fallout, I'll say it one more time, can be disastrous if you don't decide that you need to deal with this offense. I've said many times, no mature Christian who is seasoned in the Word has any right to live their life offended. So I'm not saying offenses won't come. There's a difference between being offended and living offended. And oftentimes, that's a journey. But it's a journey that's leading you down a dead-end road. You have to address offense. You have to root it out. You have to decide this is not going to help me. Sometimes you have to toughen up and understand that, well, maybe I don't know where they were coming from, but what I do know is it's not going to help me. And so, number 6, here we go again. Now you're living in this expectancy of offense. So sure enough, more chances come your way to feel offended and to live offended. If only you'd communicated earlier. If only this was all addressed much earlier on. Man. So you're now in that point. Well, here we go again. Here we go again. Every meeting you go into, sure enough, you find a way for that offense to be magnified and to be perpetuated. It just keeps going. To the point where you're like, well, I wouldn't have expected anything else. So your expectation is low now. When it comes to that relationship, whether it's with a boss or with a team member or with a partner, a marriage, wherever it is, you start now living with an expectation that you're going to get hurt, that you're going to get offended. Which brings me to number 8. We're pushing through this. What started with ouch, that hurt, an initial wound or hurt, now have you at the point where you think, well, my feelings are right and they're justified. So now you basically excuse the fact that you're offended, that you're angry, that you're bitter. You start excusing it because you believe it's justified. So now you're not really believing the appropriate scriptures that talk about forgiveness or bitterness or anger or hurt, because those are for other people. They're not for you. Dangerous place to be. I've seen where offense can lead people. I've seen how easily offense can come. I've had plenty of opportunities, especially in more recent years, to live my life offended. A story I've told thousands of times, more than 1,000 I'm sure, was when I was in Bible college, and the principal of the college one day said to us, no matter what happens to you in life, no matter what people say, no matter what comes your way, never develop a wounded spirit. Well, that's the point. Now you have a wounded spirit. It's impacting, it's affecting your spirit. And of course, your spirit either closes doors or makes a way for you. Your spirit, a right spirit, it can bring promotion, leadership, opportunity, new beginnings, help you to step up in life. But when there's an offense impacting your spirit, well, it's just leading further down the hole. And so John Bevere, I think he wrote a book early on, a tremendously successful book about the bait of Satan. And that's exactly what you're falling here for. You're falling for the bait of Satan because you're going to live your life offended. And you know what? If you saw it in other people, where you're at and what you're feeling, if you saw it in other people, you would see it for exactly what it is, just as other people can see it in you. Other people can sometimes see what you can't see. Again, it's a dangerous place to be. So number 9, now you're at the point where an apology would make no difference. So number 9 is, what difference would an apology make? You deserve justice or an apology, but suddenly now you've got to the point where an apology wouldn't cut it, because an apology wouldn't cover the way you feel. You're angry, you're hurt, you've been aggrieved, and it's eating you up. Offenses are like cancers. That's what they do. They literally eat you up from the inside. So you feel increasingly misunderstood until even an apology wouldn't satisfy you. You want justice and you want revenge, whatever that looks like, however that comes. Number 10, this is all because of me. You see, now you're at the point where it's all about you. So you become absorbed in the belief that every blessing you enjoy is because of your own efforts, because of your own endeavors. So you've taken this offense that came from out here, you've internalized it. It's eating you up like cancer. It's terminal if you don't get the right treatment or if you don't get the right help. And so now you're at the point where you start thinking other people are living off your gift. You suddenly think it's all about you. You look at the blessing all around you and you decide, well, all of this is because of me, my efforts. Man, I've seen that. I've seen many years ago, in the early 1990s, how a worship pastor maybe got offended somewhere, but certainly got to the point where everyone's living off my blessing. If it wasn't for me, this wouldn't be happening. You make the fatal mistake of believing this is all about you and that you're not getting the credit you deserve. And so, instead of what I'm part of is bigger than the part I play, what I'm part of is bigger than the part I play. Now you're like, the part I play is the only reason all this blessing exists. Offense can take you there. Offense can start in your mind internalizing it and think you're the reason why all this blessing surrounds you. It's all about me. It's all because of me. So number 11, now it's at the point where you want out. Number 11 is, I just want to be free. This started with a little offense. Now you want to sever ties. You want to make a cut. And maybe what you're separating is a partnership birthed in God with tremendous impact. No wonder the devil gets on the back of it and tries to take you out, tries to get you to suddenly think it's better out there. There's a better way than this. I want to be free. So you convince yourself life would be better if I break away, if I'm out of here. And here's the sad thing, and this is where the devil gets involved. You find voices who heartily agree with you. They will back up the way you're feeling, agree that you'd be better off doing things on your own. You'd be better off moving out of that team. Sadly, maybe even moving out of that marriage. And you start thinking that you'll succeed, and without you, things are going to collapse. It's false. Let no man think more highly of himself than he ought. Let no person think more highly of themselves than they ought. Some people think too highly of themselves. Some people think too lowly of themselves. Other people just think too much about themselves. But don't ever believe that you're the source of all the success that's surrounding you. And don't decide that you can break free and automatically see that same fruit, see that same success. Because my experience is it's extremely unlikely. God blesses you in a place and in a season and with certain people for a reason. So now you're at the point where foolish alternatives make perfect sense and become increasingly attractive. What if? What if? What if I branch out? What if I cut this source of my offense and I just go it alone? Two are better than one. You know all the scriptures. I've seen so many times people think that the blessing is because of them, and it may even have started with a little offense, and they're at the point now where they just want to break out. They just want to break free. And it's a dangerous place to be. Well, number 12, it's all over. So the root has gone deep. And the Bible talks about it. It talks about that root of bitterness that springs up. Well, when it springs up, people make crazy decisions. Inside a marriage, all of a sudden, someone breaks out. Maybe it's an affair, maybe it's just themselves, but they just break out. And everyone else is looking and thinking, where did that come from? We just didn't see that coming. And often where it comes from is a root of bitterness, which now has sprung up. That's what the Bible says. And it also says that many are troubled by it, that it causes great stress and great pain for many. If we go back to the metaphor of a marriage, children are impacted, relationships are impacted, so much is impacted. And it all started because you didn't address a little hurt or a little offense. And so what is just a sand dune becomes a mountain. Number 13, this is the real me. So your behavior becomes a little bit irrational and seemingly completely out of character. Suddenly now the way that you're thinking, the way that you're living, it's like, what happened? What happened? Where did all that thinking come from? We didn't see that coming. Where it came from started all the way back there. Ouch, that hurt. You don't address it. And it can lead you, well, up the garden path. So number 14, oh, so it's my fault. You convince yourself that none of this message applies to you, and yet you interpret what other people are saying as obviously they're talking about you, but they got it wrong. They got it wrong because irrational behavior, radical changes, breakout type decisions come from not addressing offences. And it can be crazy, because now what makes perfect sense to you makes no sense at all to others, because they're looking at it through pure eyes. To the pure, all things are pure. So now it's all about you. And it's all because you didn't address a little seed of offence, which has now become a rampaging weed that is completely taking over your life and suffocating all the purity and all the good that God has for you. And so finally, number 15, in just over 20 minutes, 15 points. Number 15, the cork is out of the bottle. And the sad reality is it may take years to get over it and to work this out. When we lost our first worship pastor in 1995, a great man of God, prophetic man of God, Ray McCauley, I was grieving. I was in the middle of a crisis and a storm, having to pick up the pieces. And I'll never forget it, because he turned to me and said, "Brian, the cork is out of the bottle. You just wait and see." And you know what? If you're the offended party, you are the cork in the bottle, because your spirit and your attitude, now controlled and ruled by that offense, is making you, frankly, it's making you toxic. It's making you out of step. There's a smell to you, and it's not a good smell. It's not an aroma. It's a nasty, toxic smell coming out of your spirit. How did you get here? How did you get to this point where you're cut off, you're separated, and the greatest pain is when you look and you see others are being blessed and that God's still moving, and it wasn't all about you afterwards. It wasn't all about you in the first place. And so offences, they will come, but you have to address them, because unaddressed, those small seeds of offence will become a massive tool of the devil to rob you of the purposes and the promises of God. And you can be living in a side eddy, not in the mainstream of what God's doing. You're just swirling around in your offence, and maybe with other people who feel just like you do. And it becomes irrelevant. What a sad, sad thing that is. Have you been offended? Is it still digging deep down into your soul? Digging deep down into your spirit? See it for what it is. Address it. Do what the Bible says, and go back to the person where perhaps this all started. Have the conversations. They're not going to be the one that's hurt. You've heard it said, I'm sure. I sure have many times. I've heard it attributed to various people. Perhaps it was Joyce Meyer. But offence is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And that's just not where it ends up. The sad, sad fallout of offence is going to fall on your shoulders. So where I've been offended, maybe I'm justified in believing I've been offended. It's not up to others to address it. It's up to me. 15 steps to disaster. The anatomy of an offence. Where it starts, where it ends. Man, I've seen people, they really started thinking it was about themselves in Eastern Europe. We had a couple who really talked themselves into believing that it was all about them. Well, they found out the hard way that it wasn't, because that ministry, that church is still flourishing. But they are just somewhere irrelevant. I know it's tough to say, but it's the reality. Offense is a tool of the devil, and it's a trap to fall for it. God bless. Thanks so much. See you next time. Leadership and other stuff.